So I'd like to call to order the October 20th special meeting of the Board of School Commissioners. And so first we will rise for all that would care to join in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, so for roll call, all the board members are in attendance. We have student representative Isabel LaFemina, but we do not have student representative Hannah Salamano, and otherwise all board members are in attendance. So the next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. If I could entertain a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
So move.
And thank you, Hurley. Is there a second?
I'll second. Charlene.
Thank you, Charlene. Okay. So, so our agenda for this evening is mascot discussion and a follow-up update from our meeting last week. So, so for the format, this is board discussion regarding the mascot issue. We have taken public comment at prior board meetings and had a forum specifically for that on October 6th. So I will update on some discussion from last week, and then we can move into board discussion on the matter. So I have a statement here. So before we proceed with the scheduled discussions and business at this meeting, I wish to address concerns raised by board member Hurley Kavakis that resulted passing a motion that postponed the discussion of school symbols at our last board meeting. We have asked our legal counsel to review information and advise us about the concerns. Our legal counsel has indicated that there were no violations of any of our policies, no improper threats, and no issues that should limit our ability to proceed as we might choose to address the issues before us. I can also report that our attorney has explained issues to Mr. Kavakis and that Mr. Kavakis agrees that his concerns that he raised at the last meeting have been resolved. Okay, so then we will move on to board discussion. Just a reminder to, civil discourse, very important. We will systematically move through so that everyone has equal time and opportunity to discuss the matter. And I think that was all that I had. Did I miss anything, Joanne? Okay. And so I will start with Kevin.
I would like to make a motion. Given that the vision statement for our district specifies that RCPS cultivates a passionate, diverse, and resilient community of critical thinkers who learn with purpose, create innovative and responsible solutions, and lead lives of integrity, and that the mission statement for Rutland High School calls for a school climate that values mutual respect and dignity, and that the Vermont Principals Association has recommended that any mascot, nickname, or symbol that has marginalizing, racist, or exclusionary elements should be replaced. In light of these ideals, and considering that we have been presented with clear evidence that the origin of the Raider name and mascot was racist and meant to invoke negative stereotypes of Native Americans, and that we've been informed that the American Psychological Association has called for the immediate retirement of all American Indian mascots, symbols, and images due to the negative impact these have on students of Native American heritage, as well as other students, and that the great majority of speakers at our recent open forum on this topic, including many current and former teachers, students, athletes, and parents, endorsed replacing our current mascot because it creates a divisive and unwelcoming environment in our schools. I therefore move that all Rutland City schools cease use of the Raider name and imagery, and that the Rutland City School Administration work with our student body to come up with a new mascot that would be more inclusive and welcoming, and to bring this suggestion before this board before approval no later than December 8th of this year.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Do I have a second?
I second that motion.
Okay. Thank you, Kathy. So we have a motion on the floor regarding ceasing use of the mascot. Kevin, could you maybe you have that full motion typed out, I presume? So since you
Yes.
read it. Okay. Can you send that to Joanne and maybe it could be,
I believe I sent it yesterday.
okay. So I don't know if we have capacity to share it on the screen just because it was kind of lengthy if anyone would like to see that. So I think then the best way to proceed is we'll work our way through our list of commissioners and, form the discussion with the motion on the table. So I'll begin at the top of the list. Brittany?
I'm going to vote that down. I think we need to have discussion. I think we need to be open and transparent. And I think we need to hear from our kids, our current students, and our citizens of Rutland. So that'll be a no.
Okay, thank you, Brittany. Someone just dropped off, I think. Oh, Hurley, you're still there. Hurley?
It will be a no for me because unfortunately, I believe that we have not heard from those people who elected me into office. I do know that there appears to be some concerns within the community. I don't know if the petition and names were shared. I do believe all those individuals who spoke with us aren't those who voted me in office. And I do believe that the voices of the students have been muffled. And I will be voting against this because we really need to do our due diligence and listen to those who elect us in office. Thank you.
Thank you, Hurley. Anne?
Hi, thanks. I appreciated hearing from people on this topic at the recent forum. I saw how passionate people remain about their high school years. It definitely seems to be a loss. As a petition writer noted, loss of tradition and comfort, fear of losing the way it's always been. Another speaker acknowledged that it is, in fact, scary, it seems, to lose something that you cherish. She made the point that while this proposed change to the mascot may make you mad or sad, this change does not make you question your worth, as it does Indigenous people. She noted this mascot has made people in the Native community feel invisible and made them question their value. It is a privilege that white people do not have cause to question the feelings around mascot imagery, simply by virtue of being white. White people are not the people who should decide if Rutland is racist or not, nor should white people be the ones to evaluate whether or not this mascot causes harm to a marginalized group of people. I am interested in constant progress and growth. We are not held to the same moral standards as we were 400 or 35 or 20 years ago. We should be learning to open our minds and our ears to be able to appreciate the experiences of people and groups who have walked a different path through life than we have. I want my kids and their peers at Rutland City Schools to be empowered by the vision statement that Rutland City Schools strives to cultivate a passionate, diverse, and resilient community of critical thinkers who learn with purpose, create innovative and responsible solutions, and lead lives of integrity. This is a difficult decision. It's difficult for everybody. I'm in favor of helping to provide for kids from the district mission a safe and healthy environment that fosters mutual respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. So next up, we'll have Matt.
Hello. I would just say, I don't think our district vision and mission supports continuing with a mascot and iconography that is obviously offensive to a large group of people. The Vermont Principals Association doesn't support continuing to maintain these types of mascots and iconography. This is the way things have always been, and this is tradition. Quite frankly, are not arguments for me to avoid making changes that are necessary. And in this case, I think that the money argument and that this will cost too much money to implement is a dodge. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Matt. Joanne?
This is a very difficult decision. On the one hand, we do have, our community is not a very wealthy community, and there is a lot of emotion and tradition, but more than tradition. This isn't like, Buffy and whoever, love the Raiders. This is a heartfelt, real people. Yvonne Daly wrote a great article once that said Rutland is real. And that's what I really appreciate about living in Rutland. So I do appreciate, especially at this time with COVID and students feeling that they lost their graduation last year. And of course, that the loss of a lot of in-person, and this is not a statement about how the schools or the administrations are handling COVID, at least in Rutland. You guys are doing a great job. So I appreciate that. I also appreciate what people, all the emails and the conversations I've had with people. Today, I had a conversation with somebody on the street about it and how they felt like they would be losing something. At the same time, we do have students from communities that have been traditionally marginalized. And, I'm an educator, and I can tell you that I see the effects of these things in very, very many ways, from elementary school all the way up to college. And, we don't really think about it. If you're white, you don't really have to think or give these things a second thought. So, some people will shake their heads and say, oh, come on, a Raider could be anything. But it wasn't just anything. It wasn't. And we have to acknowledge that. We have to really acknowledge our history before we can move on. And I do think that the origins of this mascot were based in systematic racism. And I know there was a person at the last meeting who talked about the awards that the journalist earned. People are very complicated. And you're right. We shouldn't judge people in different times by today's standards. But if I'm going to judge us by today's standards, I think that it's time to get a new mascot. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Charlene?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi there. So this topic is been the hottest topic lately. I appreciate both sides of the people that want to get rid of the mascot and those that don't. I can appreciate both arguments. I don't see why we need to keep the mascot, but at the same time, I don't see why we need to change necessarily the Raider name at this point. But I'm going to vote no at this point, and for more of the reasons that the other speakers have said. I'd like to hear more from the public and the kids on this topic. I don't have anything more to say.
Thank you, Charlene. Aaron?
Hi. So this whole thing has been really tough for everybody. And I think that my biggest concern with how this has played out thus far is that there's a lot of political movement and a lot of scripted behavior that I've seen, which is affecting the education in some way of the students, because there's been a lot of time taken out for this purpose. Whereas I think if we had had a more transparent discussion up front and really, gotten the opinion of the students, the public in a more fashionable manner, I think we could have alleviated a lot of the tension. So, it's in perspective on how anybody views something. So, yes, back in the day, they used the Indian Native American symbols. That was a type of propaganda, which is still being used today, but in the adverse. So that propaganda is being thrown back at us and saying, you're wrong, you're wrong. But really, I think that Rutland defines itself this way. The Rutland Raiders are the Rutland Raiders. They've been that way a long time. I've heard stories of Native American people who were very supportive of that back in the day. And I think there's a lot of local Native American descendants that have not been heard of because they don't feel that this is a racist or unfair treatment towards their culture. I think that, instead of trying to reinvent the community, which really is a great community. I'm not from here, but I like it, and it's my home, and my daughter has, thrived here, and I really respect this community. What I would like to see is for Native American education to really be implemented. Students need to learn the actual history, the lands, what the tribes were in more depth. Maybe revitalizing that culture, making traditional whatever, music and instruments. Like, there's something to be said for a culture, and respecting that and honoring that. I 100% agree. I don't feel that we've done anything to, desecrate anything in times. We've changed when we needed to and been very supportive of cultural things. I don't think we should change the Raider name. If the arrowhead is an issue, I'd be willing to look at that. I think we do need more input from students, community, as well as really looking at this from a holistic manner and how we can integrate this into our education system, not the political agendas. And I really do believe this is an undercurrent, and I respect the VPA. I respect the Native American Association, because there have been other places that have, used these terms in negative ways, but I don't believe we've done that. If the Rutland Raiders stays, the Raider definition does not link to Native Americans in any way, and there's a definition that says they're fighting for the good. I can't remember it exactly, but it's there. So I think we need to spin this. Again, it's about perspective. And, propaganda is being used then and now. And we need to create our own message for the students so they can have values, so they can have dignity and not feel like they're being run over. And I think this community feels like it's being, there's a stampede in many directions in this world, all over. And we need to gather together and work together, not waste time, but really work on the humanitarian issues, because we have a lot of those here, of people with all sorts of health, medical, basic need issues all over this world and here. So I suggest we refocus and use education in a positive manner.
Thank you, Erin. Next up, I have Kathy.
For all of the reasons that Kevin outlined in the motion, I support the change, changing the mascot. slavery was a tradition. I don't think tradition for tradition's sake is a reason for continuing bad behavior. We have learned, I have learned how damaging our mascot is to Indigenous people. And now that we know, we need to do better. And I know that we can do better. I feel like we've had a lot of discussion around this topic. We had the open forum where everyone had an opportunity, everyone who wanted a chance to speak had the opportunity to speak. I know I've received a lot of emails and phone calls from community members. I assume everybody has. And I feel like asking for more discussion is just a stall. It's stalling. And we just need to do this. That's all I have.
Thank you, Kathy. And then I have Dina.
Maybe it's me. Anyway, so I think part of the division here is that I think what we have to also bring back and remember that we are all sitting here with a shared common purpose and a shared common love to this community. Whether, we are generational Vermonters or somebody that just moved here, we have chosen to make Rutland our home. I completely, as you can probably guess, I'm not generational Vermonter, but I do appreciate the spirit of this community and the tradition that has built this community to be what it is. And probably the most specifically when this community can rally and support each other and make the whole community better. I also acknowledge that we don't necessarily share the same experiences as different parts of the community. And I don't speak of experiences that are based our opinions or political affiliation, our likes or dislikes, our preference. I'm not speaking of that. I'm speaking of different experiences that are based merely on our demographics. So the things like the color of our skin, our heritage, the country that we are becoming from. All of those things that are part of us that are built in. They're not something we develop over time. The package that comes with us. And those experiences may be very different for people in our community. And this is not on a personal level, although I can share personal experiences and attest to some that probably nobody else can have shared those sitting in our Zoom room. And even within a group, individuals can experience different stuff. And that is why it is so important, in my opinion, as a public school organization and the representative of this public school organization is to do what we always do. We look at a broader sense. We look at the best available data. We look at what we've always are told to look at, that aerial view, at everything at the mission level, at why are we here and why is this so important to our community? And we consider all of that to make the best decision for all of our students. That's what we do. We do it with curriculum. We do it with presentation of any other things that have come in front of us. And in terms of just a side process note, this is the only issue since I've been on the board, which is, 4 years, that has received its own public forum, that we've dedicated 2 hours, which I completely agree and was very happy that we've done that. But this is the only time that we've had an isolated public forum for a single item, which we probably should do more of. But just to say in regards to the process. And when it comes to harmful interactions with pieces that make up our system, that may be our educational curriculum, the symbols that represent our school, the way the design of the building, where there's access for humans with disabilities, all of those pieces can create positive or negative interaction. And when there's a negative interaction with one of those pieces, it is our responsibility to respond to that. And it's sometimes when there is harmful interaction, it is not necessarily about the majority rule decision making, because there may be situations when the minority is feeling the impact, and we'll never get necessarily the representation of the majority rule or the public understanding or current support for their experience. And this is where our responsibility comes back again. We will never consider this issue when we discuss bullying or trauma-informed education, this is part of it, in my opinion. We will never put on a vote whether bullying of 5 people or 10 people or 100 people in a system is something that is important for the system as a whole, our education system as a whole. It is kind of obvious that yes, that should be a priority for a district. And just kind of as a reminder for all of us, not too long ago, we sat together in a very well-presented research-based bias training that illustrated very effectively how language, images, and symbols, which may not reflect ill intention or anything that was premeditated to portray anyone in a negative light, but it creates an impact. And that impact is what we're talking about. We are no longer talking about the intention behind it and who created what when. It's about the impact that is generated from that situation. By nature, that impact is usually concentrated towards minority groups. It's just the nature of the beast. I think that it is an opportunity for us to demonstrate what we've learned, to walk the walk, to manifest our mission, to put our words into action. We also have an opportunity here, and I hope this does not kind of pass people by, because I think this is what draws me to Rutland more and more, is that ability to create a strong community that really takes care of all of its pieces. And this is an opportunity to go forward without necessarily erasing the past, without erasing the tradition, without erasing the spirit of the team and the community that have rallied behind our school, but to create something that will expand the sense of belonging to our team. More pieces that can fall into their place in our community and enhance the most precious of investment, which is our human capital. We're investing in ourselves, in the kids, in our community, to enhance what comes out of it. And because of that, I am going to support the change of the mascot. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Dina. So that is, everyone has had an opportunity. Kevin go ahead, Kevin.
I just wanted to point out that the version of the motion that's posted is actually an earlier draft. The version I wanted to present tonight was there's a couple of clauses.
All right, so Kevin, can you just tell me which one? Because I don't read all my emails.
Okay.
So what date did you send it? Because I didn't see that one. I apologize. I'm a schmuck. Can you tell me what date you sent it, and I'll put it up?
Well,
right, this one. Okay, hold on.
Deleted a phrase.
Is this here? Is this one it? Am I sharing that?
I'm
It's still
still
showing the old one.
Okay, hold on. I've
Nothing
gotta
visibly changed on my screen anyway.
not mine either.
show that.
Now, yep, you got rid of that.
Now I'll pull that. I'm sorry. That's their true confessions. I had to look for it when you told me to. Is that better?
Yes, yes.
I'm so sorry.
And for anybody that's interested, the changes in the last paragraph, the actual motion part, not the intro.
I therefore move. I'll move that up. Is that all right?
I did want to make some points, but Dina did an excellent job of making everything I was about to say, and she did it very eloquently, so I don't need to add more. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion from any board members? Okay.
Aaron would like to talk.
Oh, okay. I can't see everyone. So,
Yeah.
Aaron?
That's why I said something. So I just want to go back to Dina's point on sometimes the minority, you know, there's people that get hurt, right, in different sectors. We all have experienced that in one way or the other. So again, through this process and how it's been handled within the schools, from what I understand as well, and, you know, in this community, I feel like, you know, we're saying that certain people have been hurt because of this name and symbol, which I get, you know, there's lots of things that can lead to a bullying type of thing. But what I'm feeling now is, again, it's being reversed in the sense that students have been quieted in trying to gain, you know, input one way or the other, whatever side they're on. And I think the public has also been eliminated from saying certain things without fair equity. So I didn't go to any of the bias trainings, but I've been all over this world and I've been through a lot of cultures and I know a lot of people. And I don't believe this community has any ill intention, Raider logo or not. I think this community has been through a lot, has stand by each other. And to have this be the division is really upsetting. So you might be fixing one problem, but you're causing other ones by not giving students and the public the ability to, you know, feel secure in where they're at. And that's really the issue at hand. So again, it's being used in reverse. And I really want this community to understand that it's a perspective thing. If you tell somebody something, they can spin it. That's all there is to it. That's how this world works. That's how language works. So I really want that to be out there. And I want every board member to consider that perspective, please.
Thank you, Aaron. I see Brittany has her hand up.
Yeah, I really want to go on what Aaron says. I think that one thing that we need to consider when you did the Black Lives Matter flag, you took the students' perspective and you had them present it to the school or to the school board, excuse me. And I think that we've gotten to a point now where this is so divided. We've made the Rutland community so divided. And I was just happening to speak with a few students over the weekend and to look at the division that we not only have in the city right now, but we have a division at the national level. And it's not only causing chaos at a national level, but it's now causing chaos at a local level. These kids deserve more from us, and they deserve for us to hear what they have to say, not what we have to say as adults in our own political parties. I think that by far, being somebody that has been raised in a very diverse family, I get it. But if we only listen to that small group of people, you know, I want to hear from the city of Rutland. I want to hear those individuals that come to us, not people that live across the country And I respect their answers and their input and their stories behind it. But if we don't have our local Rutland City voters and our students in the school, right now we're in a massive pandemic, and we have spent the month of October and September talking about this. So I would really appreciate if we would, whether or not you want to vote on it, it is what it is. I'm going to vote the way I am. But I really, truly think that if we listen to the people in our community, in our school, and take a listen to that, I think we'd have a different view on it. So thank you, Erin. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Brittany. Charlene?
Hi there. I do feel badly about how I feel like it has been a bit divisive. There are a lot of people that are against it, a lot of people for it, and I understand this topic is a hard topic, and my only thinking, and maybe the board can talk about this, is I don't know if there's a middle ground where we can at least take a step in the right direction. And for me, removing the mascot emblem, the symbol, so there would be no Indian connotation there, obviously. But I didn't know if there's any discussion about the Raider name as just a gesture that would, possibly satisfy both ends for now. And it's something that it's not an ending conversation as far as done. We could always have further discussion, but I just thought maybe that would bring some people together instead of making this such a hard, divisive topic. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Charlene. And Hurley had his hand up.
Yeah, I do. I would support Charlene about the logo and keeping the name. But I will say, and this will not be probably a very popular one, I've taught in school buildings for 32 years, and never has a logo or a name created the climate inside. The climate inside was always done by the staff, the faculty, and the administration. If we're having an issue and we feel that it's not a welcoming community in the building, we need to now look past the logo, past the name, and to see why and what's going on what's going wrong with our buildings. Thank you.
Thank you, Hurley. So anyone that has not already spoke twice, and bringing up new topics, I see Dina's hand waving. So Dina?
I can't see this, if I'm too wavy, it's because I can't see my own self, like with a screen share. Just a comment. Anytime you present anything that has anything to do with humans and humanity and different perspectives, it will create some kind of a wave, some kind of a collision. In essentially, there hasn't been a change in the world that was progressed without any type of this type of process. And this is an opportunity, yes, absolutely, to create in the schools the educational process around how do we debate things, how do we bring into light information, whether or not we also, we can all talk to 10 people in a building and get different perspective. That is not what I was referring to at all. I am speaking about a broader sense of our mission and a broader sense of what we represent in a community. And I think that the right thing to do is the right thing to do, whether or not it creates some, instability in the sense of discussion, whether or not it brings to light issues that are not naturally discussed. We're not trained and practiced enough in those in the good debate type of skills. The other side of it is a mascot that has created such a division like this, a high school student that did present during both meetings that have stated it very well when he said a mascot that's supposed to unite the community behind it and is creating this division is not a great mascot. Whether the name versus the mascot, this original, I do not pretend to be a linguistic person or anything of that nature. But I believe that based on our understanding of our mission and different experiences that may not be represented in everybody's existence in a building should be addressed and are clearly the right thing to do. We don't have to wait for another national level moment like the George Floyd situation to understand, to illustrate things to us. There's enough information on a national basis to allow us to see where things stand in terms of the interaction of specific groups with specific symbols. And I think that's where our decision should lie, not within the political arguments of it.
Okay, thank you, Dina. So the motion on the floor is for Rutland City Schools to cease use of the Raider name and imagery.
I would like to speak.
Allison, could I speak one more time?
Excuse me. I can finish what I'm reading.
Another person also spoke, so don't call me out like that. You can't see everybody. So
I can't see everyone, and I am speaking, and I am the chair. So if you would let me finish, that would be great. So the motion on the floor is Rutland City Public Schools cease use of the Raider name and imagery, and the Rutland City School Administration work with our student body to come up with a new mascot that would be more inclusive and welcoming, and bring the suggestion before the board for approval no later than December 8th of this year. So that is the motion on the floor. We've had some debate. If there's someone that has not already spoken twice on the matter or has a new, I would welcome that. I cannot see everyone here. I have to scroll through.
I was wondering.
Matt?
Uh-oh.
Oh,
I see Matt.
sorry. Apologies for that. I was had my hand raised. I was trying to get your attention, and I was trying to unmute. I just wanted to address a couple comments that were made. There was a comparison to the issue over the Black Lives Matter flag in this situation, but in that case, a student group approached the board regarding that issue, if I recall correctly, very similar in a way that a group of stakeholders has approached the board about this issue. So I don't know, they didn't seem different to me in that way. And there have been several months for input. This has been being talked about for 2 months, I believe. So I don't know, to me, there's been plenty of time for anybody who's wanted to weigh in and participate to do so, including students, which I haven't heard anything from. And I want to say, you know, when we're talking about how people feel about the climate of a building because of something like the logo or the mascot, I don't know, one thing that I've learned from some of the education around this is to listen to people when they tell you what their experience is, and to not dismiss their experience because you can't understand it. And this is not a political issue for everyone. So if you feel like this is a political issue, I see, but it's really not a political issue for some people. Racism, intentional or not, is not a political issue. And there are a large number of people who feel that this logo is racist, including members of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. And I have a message here that Isabella, who is our student rep, would like to speak. So I'll turn it over to you, Isabella. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for hearing me today. And also that Ms. Dages and Ms. Goldberg made some really amazing points that I just wanted to say that I supported. But speaking on behalf of some of the student body, I think we are all really confused. A lot of the students don't understand why the change needs to happen because we don't see the issue in our everyday lives. It's hard to want change when the students don't see the problem. I support the change because it's seen all over the United States as a necessity in order to make people feel more comfortable and welcome. The students need to be more aware and understand what is wrong with the name representing our school. I believe that most, if not all, of the students would understand the change if they had seen the presentations I've seen and listened to the people I have. As I mentioned, we are not directly affected, so we have an easier time saying something like, I don't want it to change because I've always been a Raider. Students who participate in sports become enraged that their title wins were under the name and people want to change it. I just feel that we have heard from people who are affected by the change directly, and we need to be more understanding and educated. And it feels like people are afraid of the change. It feels like we are being sort of selfish because it's not affecting us directly. If we are told it's wrong by the culture, then we need to respect that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Isabella. So if there is anyone on the board that would like to bring any new comments forward, we're trying to wrap things up as I believe everyone has had a couple opportunities to speak. And I don't see anyone.
Erin is waving.
Erin's hand is up.
Oh, why isn't she on my scrolly thing? There, I didn't go up one enough. All right, Erin?
So I would like to modify the motion that's on the floor. I'm not sure the proper way to do that, but I would like to do that.
Well,
We
you
have
have
to
to do
take-
it one of two ways. You would have to ask for a friendly amendment, and then the person that made the original motion would have to change it. Otherwise, the motion stands.
Okay. So we can't change the motion. The motion is what it is, and you want to vote on it tonight. So Kevin, I'm wondering if you could make a friendly adjustment to the motion at hand. I believe in all of the principles that you've outlined. I do. And I think we need to support all cultures and all people in every way possible, psychologically, foundationally, and otherwise. So the motion modification would be to retain the Raiders name and eliminate the Arrowhead logo and have the students potentially come up with the same, a new logo for the December 8th date. I'm not seeing it in front of me, but that's the gist: to remove the Arrowhead, continue with the Raiders, and come up with a new perspective on that term. Because again, linguistics is really important in how we use it. So I want the students to have that opportunity. So how do you feel about that, Kevin?
I think the Raider name has been associated with the appropriation of Native American symbols for a long, long time. And we can't really separate it from the image without retaining some of that negativity. I think this is really an opportunity for us as a community to build on our pride and the things that we have in common and come up with a new name that we could all identify with, because I think the Raider is tainted. And no, I'm sorry, I wouldn't agree to that modification.
Okay, so the motion on the floor stands. So I don't see.
Can I ask for a friendly amendment as well?
Sure.
My request for a friendly amendment from Kevin is if we can amend the timeline for the December 8th. I think in light of the administration situation with COVID and the school kind of focusing on trying to maintain a head above water, I think it will be best to allow the administration to come back to us maybe with a timeline of the change and how to proceed with it. I think December 8th is quite crunchy. And this way there's more maybe thoughtfulness that will go into it, and maybe also an opportunity to produce some of the other things that we've spoken about, which are more of the meat of the problem, which is the discussion in the school and bringing the kids and the community on with the change and creating maybe potentially a positive process within the change, not just the elimination and kind of replacement of the mascot. And again, we will, if people are worried about timeline being dragging too long, that's part of our job to have that communication.
I would like to hear from the administration about how they feel about the timeline. That was a piece that I was not absolutely sure about. So are Bill and Greg still here?
Yes.
What do you think about, I mean, what's a realistic timeline?
I would agree with Dina's point about the concern in regards to December 8th. That does not, that I think you used the word crunchy, which I think is a good word for that. I agree. I wonder if you would be willing to just end the sentence after the word approval. So just cut off the part of the motion that says no later than December 8th of this year, with the understanding that with the understanding that the motion would be brought before the board for approval.
I think we need a time frame.
I think we also have a staff relations meeting going on now. So if we're going to drag on with amendments, we'll have to recess and come back so that those can attend that. So I guess we have the motion on the floor right now. I'm not sure if you are entertaining amending it, Kevin, or where we're at.
Greg, what do you think about our January board meeting?
Could you make it February? Let me, if I could interrupt, I'm sorry, but anything is going to be better. I think the more time would be preferable. I think giving the opportunity for students to, what I've heard repeatedly is about the need for student input. Frankly, my experience in conversations one-on-one with students is the adult level conversations have been a little bit insane. So students don't really want to participate in this conversation. So I think there's going to need to be the opportunity for students to, there's going to need to be time and opportunity for students to do that.
Okay. So when is our February board meeting? Does anybody know?
So, yeah, I think I don't have the calendar that far out, but also I don't know that Superintendent Olson also, I don't know if you wanted to weigh in on this.
Sure. Our February meeting is the 9th. I personally think, based on what Dina was saying, I think there needs to be a learning process for the kids to go through. And we haven't had time to do that, truthfully. We started on September 8th and we had the forum on October 8th, and it just hasn't been time for Greg and that team to pull that together, given trying to reopen in the pandemic. So to go through a learning process and a reflection process, I'm not sure if this motion carries I'm not sure what the harm would be to give the school the year, or maybe till April, to try to do this, because ideally you want to do it right and you want to have everybody learning, thinking, reflecting. And it takes time to do that, especially in this setting where we have half the kids in every day.
I think the concern is that a lot of the changes that would be made for the next school year are made in January and February. So if we want to make this effective the next school year, we need to have a new mascot in time for like yearbook and uniforms. And I mean, does that not a problem? I think I'm comfortable with February.
From my perspective, the implications of this motion are far-reaching, and I think that whatever is going to take place, it's going to have to take place in an ongoing way. Like, in short, I can't do all of that by next year. Like, that's sitting here right now, there would need to be a lot of following up decisions to make that motion practical. So to your point, Kevin, in terms of like, we want to be ready for next year, what I'm envisioning is something that is going to require an ongoing process that is not going to be like, okay, it's September whatever of 2021, we're done. There's a lot more involved in that. And especially, to go back to Bill's point, if we want to incorporate, if we really do want to include student participation and voice in this discussion, like I said, I think the first thing is to give them the opportunity to reflect and be thoughtful about that.
Can I just say one more thing?
So I think we need to either move on the motion or recess so that the other meeting can take place and take this up after.
I'd say to recess.
So,
Allison, if you recessed, I will not be able to be there. I have another meeting tonight for my college, so we would have to recess to another day.
You're muted, Allison.
we can recess to another time. This is an ongoing meeting that we could take up as soon as staff relations is over. So I guess so we have a motion on the floor. Kevin, did you want to amend your motion?
I'm flexible about that, but I think we need more discussion in order to come up with the details. I mean, I heard about February, but then I heard that wasn't workable either. So, I mean, I don't want to say something that's not going to work for our administration.
Kevin, sorry,
it's also a recommended motion. Certainly, there's nothing that would prevent administration from coming December 8th and saying that they cannot meet that timeline, and then that could be revisited. Is kind of another way to look at it as well.
To February 9th, and we vote on.
So the motion on the floor now is no later than February 9th. So Kevin has amended his original motion December 8th to February 9th. Do we have a second? I know, Kathy, you were the original second.
I will second that.
Okay. The motion on the floor is to Rutland City Public Schools cease use of Raider name and imagery and that Rutland City School Administration work with our student body to come up with a new mascot that would be more inclusive and welcoming, and bring the suggestion before this board for approval no later than, I think it was it February 8th? Was that the same? 9th. Thank you. Okay. So
Roll call, please.
yes. So we'll go through roll call vote. So alphabetically here, we'll start Brittany,
Staying with the administration and no.
Hurley,
No.
Anne,
Yes.
Dina,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Joanne,
Yes.
are you on mute, Joanne? I don't know if Joanne is still with us. We'll keep going through the list. Charlene,
No.
Aaron,
No.
and Kathy.
Yes.
Joanne, are you with us?
Yes.
And your vote?
Yes.
Okay, so let me see here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 no's and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yeses. So the motion carries. Okay, so, I just want to thank everyone for their time and thought. I know this has been a difficult topic and discussion. So I appreciate everyone's thoughtfulness, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Yeah, second.
All right, so, so motion to adjourn, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so the motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you, everyone. Have a good night.